Well, you know, we've made it. We've made it. The salaries for Draftkings, NFL, Week 1, your fantasy football, schmacks right here, they have released. Second to last day of July right now. I haven't looked at them. I have heard that they have released based on some Twitter scatter. So we're going to look at them for the first time. I've saved it. I've had the urge on my phone, open up the mobile app and look. And I say, you know what? Let's save these reactions for a video. So this is the way too early look. The way 6 weeks too early look at the NFL. Look, the preseason starts 6 days from this recording. So we don't even have any of the news about who's winning camp battles for the most part, who's injured, how that's going to affect the rest of the salaries. There will be an overload of value week 1, as there always is. So when you come and watch this video 2 weeks from now, check the post date, because if you're like, hey, why is there no mention that Tua is hurt? And now all these weapons are not as meaningful, or the backup quarterback is maybe a value. That's because as of right now, Tua is healthy, and we hope, knock on wood, that he stays healthy. But Cam Akers, Michael Thomas, Carson Wentz right now has an out indefinitely tag on his foot. You have Dak Prescott getting an MRI on his arm. So things are already happening 3 days into camp. So this is the way too early. We will do another first look the Monday before the games start. But thank you for being here. Let's hop on into it. Let's look right now. Let's look. We're back. Football's back, baby. Hey, let's look, ladies, gentlemen, fellas, at the salaries for the first time this year. So here we are. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Well, you know, we'll build some sort of a lineup. We could build a cash or a GPP lineup, but we're going to start with the quarterbacks, and let's just scroll through this bad boy right now. So you can see, as expected, and Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was going to have the greatest fantasy season of all time until he ended up getting a bum shoulder down the stretch last year. I mean, you can see exactly what he was doing in the right column right here. He was going off every single week. He gets the bum shoulder, and then he just fails to hit above 20 points in almost every single week to close out the year. So you have Kyler Murray up top. You have the $8,000 Patrick Mahomes. Let's start to look at some of these values right away. Now, just like season-long fantasy football, you're going to see a massive change from that these rushing mobile quarterbacks have just a cheat code. The cheat code to actually win you weeks. Lamar Jackson a couple of years back. Any sort of mobility, Kyler Murray last year, Josh Allen last year, is going to have a premium price tag on. You can see that they have to go with the AA Rodgers now that they have Amari Rodgers on that team, is my guess at that point. Aaron Rodgers at 6,800 faces a New Orleans team that lacks any depth if anything were to happen in the preseason. He's now signed with the team. He's back. He's loaded. He gets Randall Cobb. He gets Amari Rodgers. They end up going out there and getting Dennis Kelly, an offensive lineman, to potentially replace Rick Wagner. So this looks good right now for Aaron Rodgers at 6,800. And what should be a nice total game, depending on how New Orleans wants to play. If they go Taysom Hill and run the ball a lot, they can take possessions away from the Green Bay team. We'll have to track that as it gets closer. You get Justin Herbert against what is going to be likely one of the most difficult matchups he'll face, if not the most difficult all season, with that front for the Washington football team. Ryan Tannehill at 6,500 looks appealing. This is the big one right here. I mean, this is going to stand out to a lot of people. Now, although I don't think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and for fantasy, it's different. You might be sitting there as a fantasy player saying, what do you mean? He's a top 10 quarterback. Yes, because he has the mobile upside. And if he can start 17 games, which is a massive if, because he was terrible passing last year, he's going to look good. He's going to look really good. So although I don't think he's a great quarterback and a lock to start every single game, I think he's going to probably start week 1 as long as nothing happens in the preseason and camp. And a matchup against Atlanta, a much better defense than people remember 3-4 years ago and 2 years ago even. This is still a very solid spot for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, who has been locked on right now in camp to his new toy in Devontae Smith, right? The both of them going to Alabama for a time with each other. So that looks like the most obvious option early on. Trevor Lawrence is looking good early on in camp. They say there's a battle. There's no battle for the number 1 overall pick. Who has weapons? He's been locking into Marvin Jones as a potential stack. So as you go down here, what does Joe Burrow look like? The reports are that he looks fully healthy and he's ready to rock and roll. So I'm looking at some of these second-year players right away in Joe Burrow, in Jalen Hurts. Burrow with some mobile upside we'll see after the knee. And with this offensive line, maybe their weakest part of the offense looks like. This is looking good right now for these second-year players. They seem to be the most appealing early on to me. And we can keep scrolling down. Maybe something happens with Tyrod Taylor versus Jacksonville when and if Deshaun Watson is not able to play week 1. Daniel Jones versus Denver is not great, especially without the offensive line being there. We'll have to monitor the Jameis/Taysom Hill situation. Not many passing options, but of course Taysom Hill on the ground could be enough, especially at just $5,200. And that's about it. You have Zach Wilson down here versus Carolina. There's some interesting options. Zach Wilson at 5K flat. Not the worst option. It's just, what is the ceiling in his first ever start? And that's going to be a big question, and we won't know, since we don't have any track record, until we get there. So right away for me, if I had to just look at this, and if you wanted to go naked quarterback, let's just build a cash game lineup, right? So if you want to go cash game lineup, let's go Jalen Hurts versus Atlanta. And they're only projected to win 6.5 games. I don't expect much, so we put him in the quarterback spot. I don't expect much out of Jalen Hurts in terms of being this elite quarterback that changes it for them. Based on the salary cap structure, they don't even want him to be that elite because they're not going to be able to afford him in 2 years. Jalen Hurts, let's put him in the quarterback spot to start as our quarterback for a cash lineup. Now, if you're building a GPP lineup, we could even throw in there a Devonta Smith, a Dallas Goedert. We can work through that, but let's just start with a cash lineup right now just to not get ahead of ourselves. And you know what? Who the fuck am I kidding? I'm not playing cash all year long. We're going Joe Burrow, $5,700 Joe Burrow at home against Minnesota. We like Jalen Hurts. If you want to run him naked, if you want to pair him with Devonta Smith, fine. But we're going to build a GPP lineup because I don't play fucking cash. Let's be real here. Nobody's playing cash. If you're playing cash these days, that's fine. More power to you. I don't give a fuck. So we're going with a GPP build, and if we're going with a GPP build, let's bring in the stacks, and oh baby, Joe Burrow's got a lot of them. But let's go to running back first. You get the 9K running backs, Christian McCaffrey versus the Jets. Dalvin Cook and this is the other side of the stack that you can go to now with Joe Burrow. It makes a lot more sense. Dalvin Cook at Cincinnati, 9,100. A couple other expensive players. Alvin Kamara at 8,600 should just be peppered with double-digit targets you would expect against Green Bay in a game where I expect them, even at home, to be underdogs heading into week 1. Jonathan Taylor gets the heavy 8K price tag right away. Saquon's down to 78, and we can keep scrolling here. This is a very nice one. Now, Austin Eckler at 7K. You're not going to see Austin Eckler in the 7K range all that often this season. He's going to be above that. 7K flat, he's going to be 75 to 8K. The matchup against Washington might be the reason why, but I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this if we're hoping to get, like when he returned to week 12 last year, the double-digit target game out of him. You can go down a little bit more. Aaron Jones versus New Orleans, which is not the same New Orleans team. This New Orleans team last year saw Cam Jordan take a massive step backwards. Not the same run front as they've lost some players now and have had age to that. So Aaron Jones stands out right away at just $6,800 after getting paid and getting his quarterback back. I do like Miles Sanders this year in general. He's there at 65. You can see James Robinson is not getting the total hit. They think he's going to be a partial starter. Not sure I agree with that. You can see right here, Najee Harris, the rookie. Najee Harris, who they don't even have a picture for yet, at $6,300. This is very interesting. A 3-down back. You expect to get a lot of work and a lot of work in the passing game. And there's some expectations that Najee Harris can be seeing around 4 receptions a game for this team right now. 5 receptions, 70 reception season. So it's $6,300 for a 3-down back who has passing game upside. He's going to be facing Buffalo, yes, but they're interior run defense was shaky last year, especially towards the middle of the season and end. So we can start this build, as you see right here now, with Joe Burrow and Najee Harris. So you get some young players, and I don't hate it. The LSU product, the Alabama product. We can go down a little bit more. It might be worth just taking in one of these guys for the overall upside. Mike Davis is here right now with no competition. That can be appealing if that remains the case as the season gets closer. He has the pass-catching chops like you saw last year. I'm not totally sold on the fact that he won't have any competition after the cut season happens. This is another rookie. I'm not going to go there yet, but somebody that I think will be a massive player, a $7,000 to $8,000 player at some point this season. But you can book that. Travis Etienne, he's going to be competing early on with James Robinson, but at some point I expect him to break all the way the fuck out. So if I'm looking at the guys who stand out the most as 3-down backs with massive upside, no Jamal Williams for Aaron Jones, so Aaron Jones is one of them. Austin Eckler, I think he's going to have some competition, whether it be Joshua Kelly, whether it be Justin Jackson, one of those guys I expect to get cut, the rookie Larry Roundtree there. So Austin Eckler, and then of course you probably want to secure somebody up top. So since we have Joe Burrow, let's secure Dalvin Cook. Maybe we come back to an Aaron Jones or a Mike Davis in the flex to fill this thing out. More pass-catching running backs in the flex has normally been the upside play until last year when stacks became the heavy priority. So in GPPs, I'm more willing now to go to wide receivers, whereas in cash games, more willing to go to running backs. But again, fuck the cash games. So we got a cheap quarterback, a fairly priced first running back, and then Dalvin Cook's our spend up so far. But let's see what we can get at the wide receiver position right about now. As he should be the best wide receiver in football, Devontae Adams is up there with Tyreek Hill. You get these expensive receivers who we're probably going to have to just pass on for right now since we have Dalvin Cook. And right away, I'm going to be looking to stack Joe Burrow with his pass catcher, right? Who's going to have a good matchup against Atlanta, in my opinion. I don't think they have much out there. They had a rookie out there last year who looked like their best option, and that was about it in terms of their secondary at the cornerback position. So we can scroll down, and we can start to see some players here. Justin Jefferson's a decent run back option if you didn't want to go the Dalvin Cook route at $7,700. Dalvin Cook against Cincinnati's run defense, they've added some pieces. I'll say it's not going to be as bad as last year, but still, yeah. Stephon Diggs is a fair price versus Pittsburgh, which I expect that whole defense to regress just naturally after being so good last year. Hard to remain that elite. In terms of fairly priced players, I mean, this is a very fair price on A.J. Brown. You might see a low-owned A.J. Brown, although there's been a ton of hype this offseason. At this price point, it might be hard to see that, but with Julio at 68, one of these guys is going to be low-owned and probably be on one of my upside stacks in terms of 3 max where they're not as highly owned with a Tennessee stack. or a Kyler stack, run it back with an A.J. Brown or a Julio. That seems appealing, but not for this specific lineup right now. We keep scrolling here, and we get down to Terry McLaurin, where Casey Hayward is no longer there, where the secondary is going to be good overall, right? They're going to get Derwin James back, but Terry McLaurin, in his first game at home with YOLO Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I think is a top 10 receiver for fantasy in the league, in Terry McLaurin at just $6,400 right now. $6,400. Did you hear me? That's a motherfucking steal. I personally am very surprised to see him at just $6,400. I would expect Terry McLaurin, if I am being completely honest with you, and I would like to say that I am, I would expect Terry McLaurin to be a $7,000 wide receiver. And now you're getting him at home in what I would consider a decent matchup. No, by nowhere means a elite matchup with the safety play for the Chargers, but cornerback matchup-wise, I think it's a fine spot for Mr. Terry McLaurin. At $6,400, that's a stud price that you're getting. You have Deonte Johnson at $6,300 right here. Deonte Johnson is somebody who's going to get peppered with targets, but also has the ability to run downfield. Matt Harmon's reception perception showed that he was running routes downfield. It's just a matter of can Mr. Ben Roethlisberger get him the ball. So that's an interesting candidate. The ever-reliable Jarvis Landry's a cheap price, but it's a run-first offense, not really standing out. You have Kenny Gallaudet against a very difficult and great defense at just $5,600, now playing with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones not known to hit jump ball receivers all that often in his first 2 years. Not known to ever have time, though, because of that lack of an offensive line. So Kenny Galladay's here at $5,600. I don't know the last time, if ever, I've seen him that cheap. That's good to see. Russell Gage is supposed to be a sleeper in the slot versus Philadelphia. We'll have a good matchup in the slot there. This is one I'm very intrigued by, which would be Brandon Cooks. I could see you building a Trevor Lawrence stack with Brandon Cooks on the other side, even if it's Tyrod Taylor starting. A wide receiver one at $5,300 for Brandon Cooks is very appealing and somebody that I want to be coming back to if I need to. But let's look up some names. Let's look up Jamar Chase. Where's the rookie Jamar Chase? 40. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, here we go. This is why I like doing these first look reactions for the first time, because this is insane. This is your first round pick, a top 5 overall pick, already the wide receiver one on this team. Yes, T. Higgins is there, sure. You can say it's him if you want to. But this is Jamar Chase at $4,800. That's an all day yes. This is going to be a man who, yes, had over 1,700 yards, had over 20 touchdowns, a 20% target share, led the college football 2019 season in yards per reception, was an animal playing alongside Justin Jefferson, and oh yeah, with the quarterback that he's going to play with now, and Joe Burrow. And oh yeah, looking like by far the best wide receiver that's come out in years. I expect Jamar Chase to be one of the highest owned players heading into week 1. I expect that a lot. So here's your Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase stack. I want to stack him with somebody else. Do we want to stack him now with Tyler Boyd, who Tyler Boyd's $5,200, dirt cheap again, against the Minnesota team that is not going to scare you in their secondary by any means. For the first half of the season last year, they were bottom 3 secondary. Got a little bit better as some other teams got worse, but still a bottom 10 secondary overall. And they did not make many moves in the offseason, taking an offensive lineman in the first round in Derishaw to ensure their running game, not make many moves to make me feel confident that they won't improve or they won't be as bad as last year. So if you want to play the upside play, you have T. Higgins at $4,700. So Tyler Boyd might get peppered in the slot with some targets, but why not get the 2 upside guys to win you a GPP? Joe Burrow plus Jamar Chase plus T. Higgins. You run it back with Dalvin Cook, and hell, you can go a 5 stack here now because look, we have $4,300 left for a tight end, a defense which is going to be cheap. I don't give a shit about defenses. I'm literally going to put in a cheap defense here. I'll find a defense at $2,500 or below that will probably score the same amount of points as one at $3,000. 50% of the time. And since none of us actually know how good these defenses are, I'll go to the Texans against the rookie in Trevor Lawrence just for now at $2,100. So now we have $5,400 left to spend on a tight end and a flex. Let's get our tight end to see how much money we have for the flex. Can we get an elite receiver? Can we get a Justin Jefferson to make this a 5-team stack? Can we just get an Aaron Jones at $6,800? Let's go to the tight end and see what we have up here. We can also consider going elite at tight end, but Travis Kelce's $8,300, so he kind of prices himself out. You have Mr. George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, new quarterback though, but should be the best pass catcher on that team with second-year player DeAndre Swift. Dallas Goedert, I don't know if you can tell, but this is right now. If you're not having a lot of fun, I'm having a lot of fun. You might be watching this 3 weeks later and half of these guys are fucking injured. Fingers crossed, knock on wood that they're not. I'm having a lot of fun right now. We're going to have NFL content every single motherfucking day from the time you're watching this video, whether it's the day it releases or 2 weeks from now. Every day we have NFL content all the way up until the Super Bowl and maybe even some after that. I'm excited. So subscribe if you haven't already. Like really if you haven't already. Appreciate you being here. Let's fill out these last 2 spots and give you the Million Maker winning lineup this early in the motherfucking season. So the tight end position. You have Dallas Goedert at just $4,800. I mean, there's a lot of ways to stack up this Atlanta and Philly game too. Jalen Hurts with Dallas Goedert, right? I mean, I don't know how much you trust Devonta Smith. I don't all that much, but he looks good in camp. They're saying so far, catching touchdowns every fucking 20 minutes it seems. And then on the other side, if you wanted to go with the Atlanta type of a stack, Calvin Ridley on the bring back, Mike Davis, whatever it might be. You get Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is an interesting candidate because he's much more expensive by $600 than Jonnu Smith on his own team. team. I think there's a real chance that he could be the more pass-catching player, where Jonnu is kind of a halfback plus also a blocker more so. I get that dynamic, but Jonnu can easily just as be the opposite side of that. We don't know where Belichick's head is. The rookie tight end in his first ever game, can he have that TJ Hawkinson 100-yard first game? It took Hawkinson overtime in his first NFL career game, but Pitts is just 4,400. I could see that becoming a popular build. Irv Smith would ensure that you have some sort of stack here, and this is appealing. At $4,200, you can go Irv Smith. The problem there is we're $100 short on an Aaron Jones. I'm interested in seeing what that gives us. That gives us Tyler Lockett. That gives us Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That gives us Deonte Johnson, who we talked about a little bit earlier for some upside. But we just miss out on Aaron Jones. We just miss out on Austin Eckler and A.J. Brown and even Adam Thielen, who I'm not high on for the whole season, but for a stack, it looks appealing. But the reason why I say that is for GPPs, if you're stacking a tight end up or you're using him in the stack, it makes it so much easier to choose one. $4,200 Irv Smith is an appealing option. They should be in a lot of two tight end sets, which puts Tyler Conklin and Irv Smith on the field, which now that I mentioned that, let's see where Tyler Conklin is at. $2,900 Tyler Conklin. If we play him to get into the stack as a punt, he's going to be on the field. They already mentioned it, that he's going to be taking the Kyle Rudolph snaps, which were a good amount last year. And oh yeah, he closed the season out with 5, 4, 6, and 6 targets. He was already doing that last year. So if we take Tyler Conklin here and we put him in there, which not a lot of people are probably going to be privy to, at least this early, we now have $8,000 to spend on the flex. So just, take whoever you want at this point, right? Jonathan Taylor against Seattle. Do you want that at home with the number 2 ranked offensive line according to Pro Football Focus as of today? Sure. Do you want Calvin Ridley and his 30% potential target share? Do you want DeAndre Hopkins versus Tennessee? That seems really appealing. You can afford Saquon. At this point, whoever the hell you want. This is how we're finishing up the lineup, right? So who the hell do you want? You can choose at this point. We can have anybody. We can have Steph Diggs versus Pittsburgh, DK Metcalf. All these guys are there. Do we want a elite pass catching running back in Saquon Barkley, but a bad offensive line? And might be, I think he's going to be slowly worked into the offense. So for me, it either looks like Jonathan Taylor, Calvin Ridley, or DeAndre Hopkins. If we're looking early on right now, I'm going to lean to Calvin Ridley here. If your flavor is instead going to a Jonathan Taylor, if that's what it is, I question the pass catching chops. I question Carson Wentz's potential foot injury as of today. I'll take Calvin Ridley, who I know in a good matchup against the Eagles is going to have a massive, massive role. So let's look at this team. I think this is pretty damn good for a GPP team. Today, this can actually work really well. You get Joe Burrow, Najee Harris 3 down back, Dalvin Cook 3 down back. He's a run back in the stack. You get Terry McLaurin for damn cheap price, and then you get Joe Burrow's receivers. Jamar Chase is $4,800. T. Higgins is $4,700. What? Another run back option in Tyler Conklin, Calvin Ridley, and then we just punt on the defense, $2,100. Did we have any money left over? Yeah, we had $100 left over. So there you go. That is the first look GPP lineup, and I'm not going to lie. It's pretty fucking sexy. That thing is pretty sexy. So thank you for tuning in. I'm pumped. We have 6 days from this recording, the first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game. Depending on when you're watching this, be sure to tune in for that. We'll have a video. I'm going in depth. I'm going to tell you all about Jaquan Hardy and Simi Foku, or how the hell you say his name, and all these players that are probably never going to play in the regular season. We'll have you ready. We'll have videos. We'll have live streams before the games start to have you ready to win the Dollaruskis. And hey, football's back. Every single day for season long right now. The draft guide is out. Check it out. It's all linked down below. A chance to get the draft guide for free for the season long fantasy drafts that you're going to be playing in for sure this year is down below. Limited time only. Thanks for tuning in, gang. Hey. We're back, baby. We smacked you around. Like and subscribe before you go. We're having a damn good time today. Oh, I'm so excited. That Bengals stack was that cheap? Woo! We're going to be in for a good day. We're going to be in for a good motherfucking year too. Have a good one, gang. I'll see y'all in the next one.